It is time for StreetWise with former chief of the New York City Sheriff's Department, former chief of the Seagate Police Department, retired New York City detective, Time Warner Public Access Media Award, Joe Franklin Super Excellence in Broadcasting Memory Lane Award, New York Veteran Police Association StreetWise Productions, host of StreetWise, Mr. Lou Telano.
Good evening and welcome back to StreetWise. A little different tonight, no politics, no law enforcement, but it usually ties in. Sports tonight, and the sports that I pretty much hold dearly, and we're talking about boxing, and I got two boxing experts tonight. Actually, my guests sitting, if you're looking at us, it will be to your left, folks, and then I got my co-host tonight, who's another boxing expert as well, and well, let me start off with this way. To my left, who's reading his own material, he by the way, he's an author, and you can see some of his books over there. And he's got the Golden Gloves because he was a Golden Glover. And by the way, not everyone could say they fought in Madison Square Garden. But my guest on my left, folks, you'll see me pointing to him, can say he did. And not everyone can say they won by a knockout in Madison Square Garden. And he's been... fighters, let me tell you, and he's an author. So, you could be anything you want in this world, and we'll get back to him. But on my right, folks, I'll be pointing to him because I get a little confused with my left and right because I did some fighting also. So, anyway, by the way, he's the owner.
Director.
Owner, director. He's a coach. He's a trainer, and BCA. Community Sports Training Center, and I have to tell you this, I've seen a lot of coaches and trainers in my time, and I'm around quite a while, and he's up there. He's up there with the top trainers in the business, and that's Ray Bettinelli. I'm also
Peter
Woods. Great. He came here to correct me, folks, or to keep me. Anyway, Peter Woods is here with his 3 books. We'll talk about his boxing career because he's the guest, and Ray's going to jump in because Ray's an expert on this, and Ray has to write a book himself, and he's taking his drugs while he's sitting next to us here. I don't know why. I guess for the agita, as they say. So, welcome to Streetwise, Peter Woods.
Hey, it's great to be here, and thank you for having me. And I promise to behave myself when I'm here.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Because there's 2 against 1,
so,
and I'm going to behave myself.
Pull your punches.
That's right. Pull my punches.
Peter.
Pull your punches.
Middleweight. That's right.
Okay.
But
well, let me tell you, as a middleweight, you actually boxed with some guys heavier. Am I correct in that your career?
Oh, yeah.
Or trained with some heavier guys?
Oh, down in Bufano's gym, my claim to fame is that I punched the nose, broke the nose of someone who punched the nose of Muhammad Ali.
Oh.
So I was the sparring partner of Brian O'Melia,
right,
who was the sparring partner of Chuck Wepner.
Well,
and Chuck Wepner, of course, for the heavyweight championship with Ali. With Brian, who was a heavyweight,
right,
and the second time I fought him, he came in with a mask, like one of those you've seen them as a
full helmet.
Coach, full helmet, because I broke his nose. So I feel like a little bit of a jerk mentioning that, but I was a middleweight, and it was kind of cool.
Right,
kind of cool.
So what happened with your career? Because you wanted to be, don't tell me you got knocked out, which you didn't.
No. Never got knocked out.
Right.
I changed my arena. I'm still a fighter, but we're all fighters. You're a fighter.
Absolutely.
Ray's a fighter in your own chosen arena.
Right.
And I knew after the Golden Gloves, went to the finals,
right,
that I got out of boxing what I wanted. I wanted to get the poisons out, the anger, the hate, the fear, and that was the beauty of it. And I'm sitting here with you guys right now with a smile in my heart because of the boxing I did then. Boxing was, I didn't realize it, was my therapy.
Right.
Right.
And it was one of the healthier therapies. My brother, God bless him, he did not lash out.
Right.
Not that I lashed out. Boxing, you're not lashing out.
Yeah.
You're learning how
get rid of
to.
your frustrations,
You're getting
your
rid of your
anger,
frust-
like you said,
And he
yeah.
never did. He imploded, and he went into heroin as a sophomore. As a sophomore in high school, which at that now everyone's going crazy with the
opiates.
precisely, and
Yeah.
now, and that's in the 1960s. And I didn't come from a family that was of that ill. We not come from upper class, but middle class.
Middle class America.
And so I was able to
See the worst of it?
where I was going with that, Ray, was that I was able to deal with my frustrations and
Right.
anger and fears by punching. And he punched himself, in a sense.
Yeah.
And he did. So he was inward, and I was outward. And like I said, I have a smile on my heart, and I like to say that now because of the boxing. Then,
Well, boxing actually, folks like Peter Woods just said, it takes a lot of kids off the street. That's what Ray Bettinelli does. A lot of kids, if they were not in Ray's gym, they'd probably be in jail. And some of them, as much as Ray does and tries to do, they do wind up in jail, but you take them off the street. And Ray, his BCA,
BCBA.
I do this all the time to you, Ray. I'm sorry.
BCBA. I'll
BCBA,
get you, don't
Community
worry.
Space. I know that. It's by the way, it's a non-for-profit, and
Yeah,
everybody
all
there
volunteers,
in the place. Because Ray, of course, he's got another talent, and. We'll give you his phone number later because he's very creative and computer expert, which I am not. So the two you guys, if it were not for boxing, who knows, you could have went in a different direction. But I say that includes me too. Even though I did a lot of boxing, I did it to make money. We spoke to you about that. I was a punching bag. I was a sparring partner. I was a sparring partner for, I'll name them later, for the best in the world.
Floyd Patterson, right?
How'd you know that? Floyd Patterson. Whoa, very good.
Floyd
Patterson in the
Heavyweight?
amateurs, but he was no heavyweight. We were like, I'll tell you.
Middleweight
We were
at the time.
middleweight at the time. And Floyd Patterson was like saying Lou Telano. Who's that? Who's Floyd Patterson? How would we know what he would turn out? I dropped him with a left hook in the second round in the Eastern Parkway Arena.
Wow.
And then his corners, because I was my idol, Rocky Graziano. So, of course, how do I know how to fight? Power, strength. That's all,
Right.
but very little skill, right?
It's all right. It's okay.
Right, it is okay.
It really is.
That.
Yep.
And then, of course, his corner says, stay away from that tough guinea. He says to him, we could say that in our day. I don't think we can say it now. I can get away. Well,
We just
tough wop.
did.
We just did. I know. He says, stay away from him. And he cut the hell out of me in the third round, won by unanimous. Well, anyway.
Nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be. He had a one hellified left hook.
Yeah,
he was quick as a rabbit. He's quicker than Muhammad Ali or Cassius
He was
Clay.
notorious for not taking a good shot, though. I mean,
True.
Well,
Cuss
your
knew
left
when he
hook-
went up against
the best.
Liston.
Yeah,
right?
Sonny
The
Liston.
story was well told.
Yeah.
They dodged that as long as they could.
They
that
could.
fight.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
But by the way, your left hook.
That was a left hook.
Remind me of my left hook.
But
That's
Are you a lefty? Are you a converted
Yeah,
southpaw?
well, don't tell anybody that.
You
Okay.
are. I knew it.
okay?
I knew it.
Well, and when I used to sign, and now when I used to sign like boxing gloves,
Right.
I would sign it. Or when I went into the fight, and I've had a lot of fights in Long Island here, I would be doing it with the right hand.
Right.
And someone said, the guy sitting there said, "Well, man, are you illiterate? You can't even write." And the fighter behind me, he got scared by that. Yeah, he's going to fight some illiterate guy,
Right, that works-
some
that
crazy
works in
guy.
your favor, too.
Right. So, but now when I'm writing, I'm not punching people anymore. Thank heaven, I'm punching out books. And now I can feel I'm free to write
your
with use my left.
Yeah.
But my handwriting is still pretty poor.
Yeah, we saw that hook on tape. The guys then at the gym, and you starched that guy. I mean, that's like a Frazier left hook.
Was
That's a
it? Yeah.
corny left hook.
And the guy was
those were all
He was a head
southpaws,
taller.
but
He was a
converted.
head bigger than you.
Oh yeah, he
wasn't
was a tall guy.
Well,
looked
he
like-
was 6'3",
I
and with
thought
his
so.
afro, he was 6'8".
Yeah,
and he was the guy that no one wanted to fight. In his gym, which was in the NYC, I don't know if it's still around, New York Athletic Rec, he was the best one. There were 3 fighters, and the 3 fighters coming out. They were really strong fighters, and he was the best.
Wow.
And then the next best, I knocked down 3 times in 3 rounds. That guy knocked out in the first round. You should show it. I'm still proud of that. I still remember the whole. And then the last guy, I don't want to talk about the last guy. What happened with that one?
Okay.
Was that the final?
That was the final. I was, but he fought a smart fight. I almost had him out. No, I almost, but I was sick. I was coughing up phlegm the color of a school bus, yellow, and I didn't want to lose the fight on the scale, so I didn't eat.
Wow.
And I was stunad enough to not go to a doctor and see what my weight was, and I went in 6.5 pounds lighter. I still almost had him out in the 3rd round. I still fight that fight. When I watch the fight, I still watch it to see maybe I'll win this time.
Right. It must be good to go back. I just have some pictures, but I have nothing like you have to show what you did. It must be. Actually, it's interesting when you can show people that, like Ray. It's all over. We were bragging about your left hook.
Yeah.
It gets me on the Lou Telano show, and I'm proud of that. And meet people, meet good people, and boxing, as you know, it's a family. Family isn't necessarily blood, and it's a family that respects the art, if you want to call it an art. I do. It's ugly, beautiful beauty, or it's beautiful ugliness. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Well, you're right. It's probably your first interracial family.
Oh well,
right?
You're absolutely right. Good point. And as you know, the bond that you have in the gym, it can bring a tear to your eye. I mean, in the sense that there's no race. All it is personality. I mean, or you don't like the guy because he's a dick,
right. Yeah.
or he's selfish, or he's that's what you go by. His character. It has nothing to do with race whatsoever.
They're all just fighters,
And I've never had everyone behaves themselves in the gym.
Yeah.
And Ray,
there's some bad boys, but they.
But you know what? When the bad boys come in the gym,
right,
they're in a different element. They're bad out on the street. That's a whole different element. It's a different arena.
Yeah.
And you'll see many of them. Now, look, they have that warrior spirit, let's say, but they don't have tools, skill. They haven't been trained. And boy, they humbled fast when they get into the
That's right.
square circle, if you will, with somebody like yourself or a trainer. Or, and then what separates the good coaches from the mediocre coaches, are they have to use that and change that anger into passion, devotion, intensity. Because truthfully, anger is not a good tool in the ring. You tend to implode under anger. Most kids come into the gym because they're angry. The parents say, hey, look, we need him to strike out at a bag. Obviously, that's a much better option. But if you want to progress in any sport, let alone boxing, you got to learn how to take that anger and mold it into intensity and into passion, because it will trip you up, just as it will in life, right? But
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, on your website, do you have the link to that fight? You should have that. I
think I do.
You do? Okay.
I do. If you scroll down.
You had sent out the link to Lou, and then he forwarded it to me, and I watched it with my buddy Coach Chris at my gym.
Oh, okay.
And, he's a banger, too,
Yeah.
And I knew right away, I says, he's a converted southpaw. I said, he's a lefty. I mean, that hook was just...
Yeah, it's there. You can see it. And I can see it when you look at certain people, the way they deliver their punches, their leverage, the way they stand. It's very obvious, but you try to camouflage that. But to go in, I like your word, a coach gives students or the boys tools.
Right,
and
absolutely. Tyson
was just on TV, and that's what he's just told the commentator. And he said, "What tools?" And he really didn't have he couldn't verbalize it, but he says the confidence, the stick-to-itiveness, the tenacity. Those are all tools. I will say this, that the anger. If I wouldn't be going to the boxing gym if I didn't have that anger. it's very peculiar, Lou, because I wasn't even aware.
Yeah.
I was not aware. I was blind to myself, but that anger, you never said fear, anxiety, was my gasoline, was my motivation. If I didn't have that, I did maybe 3 things pretty well, and I had good stamina, but that anger was the thing that and they all had it, but whether you're able to pay the price and defer your gratification and work hard, and that's another tool. And I did. I'm very proud of my boxing.
So you're teaching now? Are you?
I retired last year, and I saw the thing about teaching, which I liked. Well, first of all, me becoming a teacher, I felt like a criminal returning to the scene of a crime, if you want to know the truth, because I was not a good student. I wasn't a bad student. Ironically, the only time that I made the honor roll, and this is in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Yeah.
The only time is when I was fighting in the gloves. I got all A's and B's.
Yeah, you were in the mode. You were in fighter's mode.
Yeah, and I think they respected it somehow.
Yeah. Sure,
and the school, the teachers, my coaches went to see me fight.
Right.
And I was very proud of that. And but I had to be like a horse. You see a horse with a.
Well, yeah.
I was like that. I just had to stay in the game and in my head. My weakest point was my head. Quite frankly, my emotions. Yeah. So I just had to kind of be a little bit,
controlled.
A little bit controlled. Like I go in, knew what I wanted to do, and just do it. That's all.
I think a lot of the kids that we get, a lot of the people that come in, and look, we all have our own demons. Everybody carries them, and how we deal with them are art, whatever. But boxing, I think you're right. It for so many kids that don't have the structure needed to play the sports in school, which is really high quality grades and the studies and so forth. They're the ones that slip through those cracks because they don't have the scholastics to get on the teams. And they're the ones that really need to be on those sport teams, right? So it's almost an oxymoron. So we provide, in boxing, it provides that safety net because where else are they going to go? What else are they going to do? They're going to look for that family you spoke of that's on the street, that gang, that group of punks that run the streets. So the gym does that, but they all do come in with, everyone's a little bit of a head case. And again, the coach has to use his toolbox to find out what it is that's, got this kid doing this or that, and then use it to, channel and make him a better, in this case, boxer, right?
That's what you do, Ray. Actually, when they come in.
Well, we do. We got a good.
Well, you show them that they're not as tough as they think they are.
Well,
right?
nobody is.
No,
right.
but these kids off the street, of course, once they get in, then they see, wow,
this
is not what I'm a tough guy. I'm strong, all that stuff, and you show them. No, you get in that ring. That's when you're a tough guy.
Well, YouTube is great for that because you can pull that up, and there's hundreds and hundreds of videos of all those yahoos going into gyms like ours, and I forget there's the one guy that's blowing up the internet. He's a screwball, Zeke or whatever his name. He says he has 200 fights. He's a head case. Some Charlie Z.
That's
Charlie.
Let's not even talk about him.
Right, I agree. But there's a great video where he goes in and he challenges this 16-year-old kid in a local boxing gym in L.A., right? Oh. And this kid just schools him to the point of...
He jumps out of the ring, right?
He jumps out and tries to run out of the gym and all. So
amazing.
It's humbling, you know what I mean?
Good.
Not for him because he's a screwball and he doesn't get it. But
okay.
But I did the same thing, what you're doing. You're delivering or administering or giving your community a great service.
Yeah.
And because those kids come after school. I did the same thing in it's called Cage Gym. And this was in 1995. Boy, it seems a long time ago.
It is.
And those kids would come in after school. They would see me as the teacher, and they would see me as the coach, which was great.
Yeah.
And they would come in, and the difficult part for me was to keep them. Boxing is a sticky wicket. Not everybody can do it. So they come in. and a lot of them kind of fade out.
Yeah, they flame out.
Yeah, which is, it's just the way it is. But meanwhile, a lot of them do stay.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it later on, but my second book, one of those kids came to the gym, and he was highly flawed. But as soon as he came into the gym, I knew he was the middleweight champion.
You know it.
He didn't know it. He had no self-esteem. And just like bone structure, like his spine is in his head, in his body, he had in his head built-in problematic, self-defeating attitude. And my job, I just had to keep him on the road, keep him with the right decisions, and then you see what happened to him at the end.
Wow,
we'll talk about it.
That's the book.
Yeah,
oh, okay,
that's
one of the books I think is it's. And we all know this. We know him by name. We're talking about the toy bulldog, the Mickey Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, does that remind you? Did you write the book because Mickey Walker reminds you of yourself?
No, because I was Irish Pete Wood. A quick little story.
I could see a little correlation there between the you and him.
My father was a songwriter, and as such, his office was right next to Jack Dempsey's restaurant on 57th and Broadway, and the fighters would have lunch with the songwriters, and they would. So there was a simpatico. They respected.
Yeah.
So my father and I was a young boy. My father pointed out this man on the other side. He was coming our way, and says, "See that man? That's Mickey Walker."
Wow.
So Mickey Walker came up to us, and my father said, "Would you give my son Peter an autograph?" And I said, "Sure, laddie." And he goes down on his knee, and my father gives him a pen and a piece of paper, and he's Mickey Walker, the toy bulldog from Elizabeth, New Jersey, middleweight champion of the world. He's taking a long time writing this, and then he gives it to me, and he smiles, and it's a toy bulldog. He drew a toy bulldog with gloves and to Peter, Mickey Walker, the toy bulldog, and I still have it. Yes. I'm so proud of that. And my third book was based on him, what happened to him. Boxing is a rough game, and the older I get, the more feeling a sense of how shall I say? It's a bloody sport. It's tough. And the older I get, the more ambivalent I am about it. When I see my friends from Long Island, and I when I got out, we're talking about pro fighting, and I'm a proponent, and you see what happened to Mickey Walker. Mickey Walker, when I was in college, was found meandering, dazed on the Lower East Side, and they brought him to the hospital, and he was not in great shape. And the book that just came out was #1 on Kindle called The Boy Who Hit Back, the yellow one here, is about meeting a derelict on the street.
Right.
And he was a derelict now, but that's not who he always was. And so it's a poignant story about me meeting Mickey Walker.
You just said something about being ambivalent about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have kids that we're entrusted to coach and build their confidence through this sport. But we know that in this sport, if you take it out to competition in pros and amateurs, I'm still a proponent of amateurs. They're controlled 3 rounds, 3 minutes. I'm not happy about this no headgear rule that they just passed, but it's still a short enough duration that it's less sustainable damage.
Yeah.
But let's face it, nothing good is going to happen. 10 rounds of getting whacked in the melon, nothing. Right. And you see what you saw with the toy bulldog. You see it in Hector Macho we just lost, right? He was, all of these guys later on, the pugilistic dementia, I think they call it. But it's a culmination after many years. And then when they retire, it begins to show its ugly face. Yeah. And there's no one there for these men.
No.
It's not like some of these other sports. At least they have maybe some medical, some pension, some structured stuff like baseball or football. These guys are just out there and they're done.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, that's where, and I battle this because I've never taken, we had that one boy, you remember Mark,
Yeah.
that had the potential to turn pro. He would have been the one. We all maybe get one,
There's always,
right? That's it. If you're lucky in,
Yep.
in coaching, there's that
Yep.
one you spoke of yours.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, he just didn't have the stick-to-itiveness to
well,
happen.
you're against
I,
kids, Ray, going into
I am,
pros.
but he would have been one exception because he
Yeah,
was
you
so
would- yeah.
talented and limited in other places that we were going to just dig ditches the rest of our lives or try this with good men around him to foster his career and do the right. But at the end of the day, you know, these kids can't do well in school. If these kids can't hold a job, how are they going to stick to the regimen of training that's needed to be an elite athlete, especially a boxer? So you always have to battle that. But you're right. You're right to feel that way as far as pushing kids any further than the confidence and the conditioning our sport gives them. After that, I'm out.
Do you give any advice on kids that you know that they'll never make it in the pros, but they don't know it, right? Well, how do you train those kids? Because no matter what you do, they still think they're going to be the champ of the world. And you see that for years.
Yes, and that's 99.9% of them.
Wow.
So you just have the gym, and you make it as stringent, as difficult as they can because they like that. They like to be pushed, but be realistic.
Yes.
With what they're doing, and sometimes make games of what's going on, and keep the, how shall I say it, like you don't necessarily have to go 3-minute rounds. You can go 1-minute round, and work have connections with the fighters, so they're like teammates, and so they're not they're not antagonistic with each other, and you have a smile on my face. I like to have a smile on my face during. What you're saying is the ones who are not going to be competitive.
Yeah.
So, but you want. It's a tricky thing, you know. But you want to give them the skills, the physical skills of how to throw the jab and the balance and things along that line. But what Ray says, you don't want them taking it into the street.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the first lessons. That's the first day. So I'm going to teach you some things that are very important, but do not bring it out in the street.
Well, you teach them discipline in life.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a saying.
That's what both you guys
we
do.
have a saying at our club. Walk away, invite them to BCBA, because if they handle what they want to handle in the street, nothing good's going to happen, and then somebody could get really hurt.
Yeah.
And I always tell my kids, especially after just a few weeks of skill and training, nobody's going to best them in the ring because now you're in a arena that has rules and so forth.
Right.
The street, anything goes. The odds are not in your favor. So you're right. You have to tell these kids, and here's the rub. When they have that confidence and knowledge that they now can do some damage with their hands, they tend to not want to do that in the street because they've seen firsthand what it feels like and it could do. And they become, well, at least in my case, more passive.
Good.
You know what I mean? And then they have
compassionate, maybe,
and more respect for the outcome.
They do. Responsibility,
You know, you can be
respect.
pushed so far, but
Right.
at the end of the day, these kids are well served to be able to find a place like ours if they had to mix it up and work out a little.
Folks, this is Lou Telano. We're talking boxing tonight, and I got great people here that I'm having a conversation with. Is Peter Woods, who's Google him, you know, and you'll see the greatest.
PeterWoods.com, right?
If my website is peterwwood.com. peterwwood.com, and you'll see where the books are and my fights, my videos, and where I've spoken. Lou Telano will be on there. So that's kind of cool.
But and what's also cool, I got with us tonight is Ray Bettinelli, who does exactly what we're talking about, puts these kids in the right direction, teaches them to be somebody in life, not only in the ring. And he's owner, director, coach, trainer, BCBA Community Sports Training Center right here out in Long Island, Copac. And how do they find you, Ray?
BCBA.info.
Wow.
And that's simple enough.
Peter Woods, how did you become, I'm sure talking to you that you never thought you'd, let me put it this way, you never thought you'd you'd probably get out of high school. I think that's what the drift I'm getting from you, right? And then you become a good fighter, and you got these great books like the Making of a Golden Gloves Champion, and by you. First of all, how'd you find the time to do all these top books?
Well, okay.
Besides the talent, that's what I ask you about the talent too.
No. My father's a songwriter. I wanted to I knew I wanted to write a book, and I knew the book was going to be what brought me into this crazy world called boxing. Because it's as crazy as it is, it's beautiful too. I'm so proud, and I met these wonderful people there. And then I started when I was. Let me come around it backwards here. What brought me into fighting was a certain inability to speak. I felt that my weakness was my.
Like to go in front of a classroom and things like that.
No, right. I was a stutterer, like my father a little bit. I was a stutterer. I felt inferior. So I remember in second grade. So there's a little bit. It's inborn. It's called the synapse in my one side of the head to the other. It doesn't quite fire sometimes, and so you lose a word. And I thought it was maybe from the boxing. I didn't get hit too much because you only need one thing not to get hit, like you duck or you parry or you move or back up. I did all five, not to get hit because I didn't want to get hit. So the point is that in second grade, I saw there was a tendency for me to. I knew there was a problem, and the problem was from one sentence. I said, "Mr. Castro, who was my teacher, please open the door." It just
right.
And it's called word retrieval.
Right.
I don't think they had a word for it then, but it was word retrieval, and I think that and also I'm not the quickest guy. I'm smart as anybody else, but I'm not the quickest sometimes,
you're quick in the ring.
Well, that's just it. That's my point. Thank you. I think I was second string in the school, in the classroom, but I was first string on the playing field and in the gym, and I saw that, so I went toward the boxing because not many guys stay with the boxing, and boxing was just it was just exactly what I needed, and it was so beautiful, and
it was all you, right? It's just
it was all me, right? You're right. And if I could say that there's a great story how did I find boxing? My stepfather. So I'm from my stepfather's name is Al Schaffo. Do you know what? He's from southern Italy, or was.
Right.
You know what Schaffo means?
Do you, Ray?
No.
A schiaffo.
Was that a weapon?
No.
It's a
knife.
I thought it was a scale, isn't it?
It's a slap.
Okay.
It's a slap.
Oh.
And he was a very quick-witted, a quick-witted guy, and he never was physical with me, but he was very verbal with everybody.
Right. Sicilian, I bet.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to cast with it. He was a very successful man. He was a very smart guy, and he was a successful politician in New Jersey.
Oh. Yeah.
So he brought me and his son to a fight in Lodi, New Jersey. We sat first row.
You were a kid.
I was a kid. Yes, thank you. Maybe first grade, second grade. I never seen anything like this.
Wow.
I've never seen, and it was without headgear and at the time. And at the end of the fight, at the end of the night, the best fighter was called up. He was this kid. He was still kind of sweating, and this beautiful girl
That's true.
was holding a big gold trophy, and she handed him this gold trophy and kissed him on the cheek, and the crowd went nuts.
Wow.
That's exactly what I wanted out of my life.
Yes.
I wanted gold trophies. I wanted girls to kiss
and
me on my,
girls.
and I wanted the
Always the
applause of the crowd. And it was boxing. The only problem is I had to get in the damn ring to do it. And so there was enough, craziness in my life at the time that was the ticket.
Wow. So that's how it began.
That's how it began.
And a woman will do it all the time.
Oh, yes.
Pretty much.
That is true.
Well,
I can't match that story. I had two older brothers that used to kick the crap out of me, and I had to learn how to fight just from necessity.
Yes. Yep. Boy,
my one of the most significant punches I've ever thrown was with my brother, older brother. And this is the guy who was doing this.
Yeah.
But he was a wise ass and whatever.
Babanya. Yeah, no, it's drug addict. That's
okay.
An Italian.
Well, he
take drugs.
But so he was a cocky son of a gun, and he was he was like 5 years older than me. But then I was feeling good. I said, "Hey, come on, Dave, let's go down, put on the gloves." He said, "Sure, you're my little." And I kicked his ass. It was a left hook. It was the left hook, the same left hook you saw on the thing there.
I know.
Boom. And he did a beautiful thing. He threw off his gloves and he says, "Screw this," and he ran upstairs.
Wow.
It changed from then on.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk about your books now. We got to talk about you. We talked about, it's interesting, like was there a movie, Mickey Walker, wasn't there, the toy bulldog? I thought there was something based on him. I guess not.
No.
I know you had to be very young because he died in 1981. And he did make it to 75 years old, which is pretty unusual.
75?
He did make it. But, you talked about when I was a kid, I'm giving my age away, there were trolley cars. And the bell would ring. And there was a couple of guys on the Lower East Side. The bell would ring and they would start punching in the street. My father would say, I said, "What the hell are they doing?" They're crazies. No, they're punch drunk.
That's funny.
That's what they used to call a puncher at the bell. The trolley car would ring and ring, and they would start punching. And he would say, "When your bell rings, don't those guys, those older guys, stay away from them."
Funny.
But those are things. Now, your first book, Peter Woods, was. I like the boy who hit back, because that can be pretty much in line with people that we're talking about who took a lot of abuse, took a lot of crap, and or some bully would target them, right?
Yes.
And then finally they do what Peter Woods did. They hit back big time.
Yeah,
big time.
It's a Holden Caulfield character. When the boy, his name is Matt. He's from general area, New York area.
Right.
When his self-esteem is just crumbling down to his feet, his grades and his friends and his school are just going nowhere, and he has a perfect solution. He's going to escape. Wow. So he takes the bus into New York City, and he hangs out in New York. And that's when the problems really begin. Or do they? He meets this derelict on the street, and it's a Mickey Walker character, who at one point was the light heavyweight champion of the world in the book, but he turned to where he was. A lot of fighters just don't. But with Mickey Walker as the character here, he was Mickey Walker changed canvases. He went from boxing on the canvas to becoming a painter.
Wow.
He was not a fine artist, a primitive artist painter in Europe and elsewhere, and he sold his paintings. But he also didn't ventilate his room, so the oil paints, and sometimes you would lick the paint. And he had dementia because of the boxing, definitely. But also he was a drunk. Mm-hmm. He had his own bar in New York next to Jack Dempsey's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then also the painting. So it coalesced into really damaging his brain, and the character here is buoyed up by this boy. He found a mentor in this. I don't like to say the word derelict, but this street bum.
He knew him as a derelict.
Yeah, but then he found out who he was,
right.
And he said, "Oh, honestly, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get you back where you belong." And his name was Sailor Barlow, and you see if he does that, is able to.
Where do you get this? This book is on your website, or you said?
Yeah, well, it's
Amazon.
on Amazon, or Amazon is the best way, the quickest way. or Barnes and Noble,
Wow.
and and then he meets this achingly beautiful girl, and it's always a girl. Always a girl, achingly beautiful girl, and wickedly smart, and they team up together, and does it work out or not? Because she has her own problems, body issue problems and self-esteem and family problems, but she's motivated to find love, and he's kind of going away from them, and they meet up, and it's a connection. And one of the things themes of the book is connection, how important connection is, and the connection is all around. But as a fighter, sometimes you fight. At least I did. I once ran into Joey Archer in the Irish in Jersey somewhere, and I said, Joe, Mr. Archer, how are you? Blah blah blah. He was doing okay, but I'm not exactly sure if whatever.
Yeah.
But he says, do you miss boxing? Because I didn't. He says, I miss boxing. He says, what do you miss about it? And he thought, and he smiled a little bit, and he says, I miss the connection.
Yeah.
And I said, holy smokes. I took it, the connection of getting punched.
The
connection.
way. Connection of the gym and all the fighters and all the camaraderie.
Right. The camaraderie, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Mix the connection.
That's what happens to ex-cops. They miss the camaraderie.
Yeah.
We have a program, just to digress, at night for the old dogs like you and him.
Please.
Older
dogs. We call it Masters Boxing. It's the men that are 40 and over.
Yes.
And I always say I just want to have a place for the men to hang their gloves.
Yeah, very
They
good.
can go in the ring and still do soft touches and reflex work, but they're there just for the connection.
Yeah.
You just nailed it.
That's sweet.
And
That's
they
nice.
have a place they get their workout in. And then they can move around if they want in the ring, and even tilt the brandy when we're done and watch the fights with us. But it's the connection, and that's what they're talking about. Okay. Absolutely right.
Wow.
And you nailed it too. Like the police, firefighters, how many of them when they retire they lose that and they flounder. They don't have that.
Yeah.
So we always have that because you can always go back to the gym.
Or you can always write books like Peter Woods.
Connect to it through that.
And so this way it keeps you right in it.
Yeah.
Right? Keeps you in it. You don't. This brings you closer to the game. Like you never left it when you start doing your books, right?
Right.
Right. So in other words, you still feel you're part of the boxing world.
I am. I've been honored to be elected. Is that the word? Or nominated and elected to be entering the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame.
Oh.
So I'm very, very proud of that.
You hear that, folks? New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean,
that's great. Hey.
And that's coming up in November. So I'm very honored about that. And it wouldn't be happening if I didn't step into the ring
through boxing.
If I didn't write, the anger and all of that was taken out of me. And once I left where I grew up, went to college, but there was still a residue. It was like an expectorant for me. There was still negativity. The boxing took maybe 95%, but it was still some more in there. And the 5% of the expectorant spitting it out was with the books.
Amazing.
And
do you still train? Are you still touching bags and moving a little bit?
I train. Yeah, definitely.
I was basement, or
I was like I knew I was coming here. So, but it's not the same. It's not the same. In a strange way. Well, first of all, I'm much older, so I can't get the leverage, nor do I want to. But I'm in the gym. I was in the gym today, coming here and hitting the bag. I'll go 3 rounds,
right.
3-minute rounds, and I'll do with 12-ounce gloves.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Decent size
I won't do
gloves.
6.
Right.
It's great. It's a great workout.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Now, is it just one of the local gyms that has a heavy bag, or is it more of a boxing?
Correct.
Yeah, they all seem to have bags now. Isn't that funny?
Right. Every once in a while I'll go to Bobby Gleason's, and a funny thing happened. Bobby Gleason's is the number one gym in the world, or it used to be, or whatever. It's in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I've been going there. I wrote an article about. I went to Bobby Gleason's when it was in Brooklyn.
Now that's funny. You refer to it as Bobby Gleason's, we all just know it as Gleason's.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I think it's
the
his
famous
Bobby
Gleason's. Yeah.
Okay, Gleason, whatever it is.
Well, who was the old man?
Wasn't Stillman's Gym popular?
Oh, that was number
Well,
one.
yeah,
that was number one.
Yeah.
But when that went down, Gleason's really became.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And it was in South Bronx where I used to hang out there, and then I went to Manhattan, and then it
down
went
to
to Brooklyn, and now there's a second place in Brooklyn.
it's all right. Yeah, it's all redone. It's nice now.
Right.
Downtown Brooklyn.
And I wrote an article about what the gyms were like.
Oh.
Yeah, and seeing all the fighters there and everything. So, yeah, but okay. I'll give you another one. If it's Gleason's, is it apostrophe S or just S?
You know what? I think it's just S, isn't it?
Well, I don't
Let's
know.
check it out.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up
Yeah.
real quick.
So,
are you saying is the question is the S plural? Is that what you're saying?
no, Bobby Gleason's,
Gleason's
not plural. It's
If it's Bobby's, then it
just-
should be
it's
apostrophe.
Gleason's Gym.
I think it's just
It's his,
Gleason's. But you might. I never heard of it as Bobby's until tonight. Let me check it out real
Gleason's.
fast.
Well, he's into. So
do
while
some
you're doing
trivia
that,
here.
we got. I want
Yeah.
before when I'm losing time, I got to mention all Peter Woods' books and why he did it. Boy Hit Back. We know Clenched Fist. That's in regard to. Is that based on? That's based on you?
That's when I was doing what Ray's doing. When I was at a place
Uh-huh.
called Cage Gym, which is White Plains Rec,
Right.
and I would do.
Apostrophe S. You are correct.
Okay, and it's just Gleason's.
But it's just Gleason's.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe there was a Bobby
There was a
originally.
Bob, yeah.
Bruce, I think, Silverglade is still the owner
Yes,
there.
yes, he was.
And I can't think of the old man that was with
No,
him
I-
as partner. I can't
Yeah.
think of his name.
I know
Wait a
it was.
second.
It's gotta be
Ira.
Ira.
Very
10 years, maybe more that he passed, right? Yeah, yeah.
So this pretty much Clenched Fist is.
Clenched Fist is
Clenched.
about bringing this kid who I said was so damaged. He was a Spanish kid and Italian kid.
Right.
His name was Dennis Lozada. And when he came into the gym, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He was sculpted, but once I got to know him, he was a heroin addict. He was his father died of alcohol at an early age,
Right.
and his mother committed suicide at an early age. So he was bounced around from group home to group home to group home. But he graduated from high school, and when he came, his sense of self was so poor. And like I said, he left to his own devices. He would just sink like a stone. So my job, I didn't even have to teach him much, although I did. I got him the left hook, but he was pretty. But he would choose the wrong decision all the time, to the point where if he wasn't going well in the gym, he would just walk out. Or he wouldn't show up. You know how that is for boxing. Or he was always a pleasant young man, but there was one fight that what scares people the most, ironically, at least this kid and myself, is the fear of success.
Yeah,
Fear of
they say
success.
That's one of the number one fears.
Yeah, because the higher you go up on the ladder,
More responsibility.
more responsible, the more people see.
And can you handle it? Right.
Right, and if you fall down, it's a long way down. So a lot of people, unconsciously, just stay
Comfort zone.
the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, you can do it. And I didn't push him, encouraged him to the top. And so he wound up like losing the first round or just barely getting by.
Wow.
And then he wound up at the end, well, I don't want to give away the end of the fight.
No.
But it was very poignant at the end.
So that book is A Clenched Fist.
Yeah.
Confessions of a Fighter.
That's your first one?
That's me.
Yes.
That's me. And that was
Great.
that was optioned for film by a fellow named Steve Nicolaides, who was the producer for When Harry Meets Sally.
Wow.
A Few Good Men. And
But what are you fessing up to? What are you opening up to? I should say.
Confessions of a Fighter?
I mean, what are you on in other words, whether you're revealing what you're talking about now?
I think so.
With your brother and your father. and
Yeah,
your family?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will go even further. It's that. Well, first of all, when I was fighting, I didn't realize I was hitting my stepfather or my father or my mother. Yeah. I was just hitting a bag, and it felt so good. And hitting, knocking somebody out was like hitting somebody in the head was like hitting a grand slam on somebody's head.
Well, sure.
So it was just so beautiful, but I've already said it at the beginning.
That's great.
I think what it was the confessions. I don't state it so blatantly as I'm going to state it now.
Right.
But it was therapy. It was therapy for me, and it was hard therapy, And then I remember I was asked to represent America in Tel Aviv for a competition in '76 called the Maccabi Games.
Sure.
And so I said, okay, I really don't. I'm not into it anymore. I haven't fought, but just by my name and who I was, and people remembered me. He says, "Oh, you'll be the alternate. You'll be the alternate. Just go up to Albany State University and go in the camp." So I went to the Bronx and sparred this kid.
Right.
And he wound up being fifth 5-time Golden Glove champion. His name was Dennis Milton. Dennis Milton. And it was like the second round, and I hit him in the throat with a right hand, and I stopped him. And, you shouldn't be stopping people when you're sparring, but but if you do, you kind of secretly feel good because your skill level is high. But I felt horrible.
That's a confession.
I felt horrible.
You did?
I felt horrible. I felt so. If I feel horrible,
it was sparring. You're right. Sparring. You tend, unless you're competitively sparring and you take your fighters to another camp. But in sparring in house, we always 60% you lay off. You're not looking to put licks on guys.
And I wasn't looking to.
No, I wasn't looking to.
It was a nice shot, and I felt horrible. And I thought to myself, well, if I feel horrible if I do well, and if he hit me, so I said, you know what, I'm out of here. I can't do it. I can't. Wow. So that was a big
just
thing.
To be in the Maccabi Games is important enough.
What was the gym that you train local youth as well?
No. Well, locally, it was Bufano's, which is Jersey City. Okay. So with Chuck Webner and Jimmy Dupree, and those are the two big names. So. But I fought in Long Island, Long Island guys, and I came around with one of the best amateur fighters I've ever seen in my life. Was a guy from Glen Cove. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Trey knows it. Yeah.
Well, you have
what's his name?
Cooney. You have
Cooney. I came around a couple years before Cooney.
We had the guy was with. You got his picture for me, him in your office in your gym there. I can't think of his
Buddy
name.
is out of Brentwood.
Buddy's
out of Brentwood, but
Buddy,
he's thinking that Glen Cove would have been.
He
had the brother.
He was a champ. He was a champ.
Well, he was amateur champ. He never made a big.
Olympic champ.
Then I'm not.
Olympic. It's Olympic champ.
You're saying just an amateur? He was just an amateur.
He was 1976.
Yeah.
He was a golden boy. He was great.
Yes.
And I wrote his name down here.
You know who he is, right?
I know who he is.
Very popular.
Jake the Snake. I'm thinking of all the guys
African
that
American
came out of.
He was
very
trained
popular.
by.
He went to Glen Cove High School. I know.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is boxing right here. This is what you say where you can't make those connections. You know the kid's name,
and I wrote it down. And I can't find it.
I'm thinking if it's the kid I'm thinking about, he had a brother.
I've never seen. Oh, I'll tell you where it is here. I wrote it down.
Oh,
there it is.
We wrote it down here.
He was very popular. You'll know he's very popular. Very popular name out there.
No,
Davis. Is it Davis?
That's
Howard
good.
Davis.
Howard
good
Davis.
Man.
Very
is
good,
it?
right?
Is that who we're talking about?
Howard Davis, 135-pound Golden Glove champion.
I didn't go to
Olympic
Google yet, just in case.
Good man.
Just popped in.
That's 5 points.
The synapses connected.
Hate to say this, guys. We got a minute and a half.
Oh wow!
Peter Woods, I know, went fast, and
it's great.
I'm glad you came out there, and Ray Bettinelli, of course. And just quickly, just name your books again, Peter Woods.
Well, the one that turned out is the new one that it's called The Boy Who Hit Back, and it was #1 on Kindle, and you can get it in Amazon or any bookstore. And you'll love it. And the other one is Confessions of a Fighter. My first one. It's nonfiction. It's my life, and the second one is about my life when I bring a kid to the Golden Glove Finals, a clinched fist.
Peter Woods, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.
Tonight on StreetWise.
Yeah, it's
and Ray
great, man.
Bettinelli. By the way,
BCBA.info, and I got to just give a shout out to the coaches who are manning the gym.
Keep in mind, you also New York Veteran Police Association.
Yeah, I'm proud director. Youth director over there. Yep.
My organization.
But I just want to say Joe Perone twice. Duke Schroeder, who's helped set my organization up 15 years ago. Rick Allen, these are good men. We're all volunteers down there. They've been with us. It's more than a one-man show. Trust me, we're all giving a lot of time down there.
I'll have to bring you guys back again because it's just so much to talk about in this boxing world that people don't realize what it does for young people. Yeah. And a good example is Peter Woods and Ray Bettinelli, of course.
Good stuff.
And I'm sitting here because of boxing,
Yeah.
Right?
You're Floyd Patterson's sparring
Well, that's how I met you, right?
Yes, that's our boxing. It's true. All right, folks, thank you. I'll be back here at Strong Island TV, Paradise Studios, next Monday, 6 o'clock. This is Lou Telano, and I'll catch you later.